We need to hear your thoughts on the Canelo Alvarez lawsuit that was filed last Tuesday and was, subsequently thrown out of court because it was filed incorrectly by his attorneys the following Friday. Now, once again, this is something that greatly affects the landscape of the boxing industry here in North America, but, all around the world. You're talking about DAZN USA now. Consequently, they're not making any decisions until they wrap this up or settle this, because it was just announced from Eddie Herron that the rematch, indeed, between Alexander Povetkin and Dillian Whyte is indeed going to take place the same day as Spence Garcia across the pond on November 21st. But that was announced for Sky Sports pay-per-view. If you look at the fine print, DAZN has not agreed to distribute this in the U.S. as of yet. That speaks volumes how this is affecting the DAZN fight calendar. What are your thoughts on all of this, Rodney?
I think we could actually foresee something like this materializing, and could be a situation where the relationship or business relationship from this point forward could be beyond repair, in my opinion. As I said, the zone, when they signed Canelo, he was the, he was the pinnacle piece. He was the flagship of their brand. And, I don't think they really got that quite investment on their return they was looking for. And now you have COVID that has really interrupted just the way of life, whether it's in sports or, just everyday life. And Eddie Herron's a smart man, and he didn't foresee they could continue at this rate with Canelo as far as paying him without having him fight a significant, opponent or opponent to their liking, someone that on their roster underneath their banner. I think it's a lot of frustration that has happened, and something happened to where they reached a boiling point or a tipping point, and it's getting ugly, though. It's getting ugly, and if I'm a betting man, we won't see Canelo no time soon, definitely not this year. And I think once it's all settled and the dust, and the smoke clears, it may be a situation where it may be beyond repair as far as them going forward and continuing their relationship. So I don't know, man. I mean, this is not good for boxing. It's really not. And like you said, it's going to have several ramifications. And if they're choosing not to have any dates in the state and how they're going to distribute their pay-per-view, I mean, that says a lot right there, Joseph. It speaks volumes, and it's significant problems that's behind the scenes going on. As I said, I think one of the things the zone, now I've been having the zone faithfully ever since it became, available. But I think they should have had another linear platform as well to go along with the zone. So as I said, the financial ramifications are huge on both sides. And it's just going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But mark my word, I think the relationship between the zone, Canelo, Golden Boy, it may be, beyond repair at this point. And that's my take on it, sir.
You know what? Very well said, brother. And you very well may be right. It may be irreparable at this point, because, and think about what a dramatic impact that has on the sport. 2019 was one of the best years that we've had in boxing in a while in terms of how many events we saw on all of those platforms. It's almost like, aside from the broadcast team with Jim Lampley, Roy Jones, Max Kellerman, or Andre Ward, rather, the boxing really didn't skip a beat when HBO exited the sport because of DAZN. Now think about that. Golden Boy is completely reliant on DAZN for all of their dates to feed all of their hungry fighters in their stable.
Yeah.
Now, what DAZN was giving Golden Boy was 2 Thursday night fight cards every single month, as well as a championship fight card for each one of their headliners or their champions, right? So that's 36 fight cards per year that Golden Boy relied on from DAZN. And that's not even consideration for Matchroom Sport and all of their fight cards. So you're talking about if DAZN decides to get out of the boxing market in America, you're talking about between 50 and 60 cards per year that boxing is going to be doing without. So if you're Golden Boy Promotions and they have a roster of over 80 fighters, and then you look at Matchroom Sport, who's going to pick up the slack? Does Showtime have that money currently? Are they willing to invest that much more money in boxing at this time? Well, no, they're not. Is Fox? No. Heyman can't even support. He doesn't even have enough dates to support his entire roster of clients. And then ESPN, well, they're in bed with Top Rank. They're already giving them between 60 and 80 dates per year. So a lot of fans are kind of siding and being sympathetic with Canelo, but they're not thinking about how this is going to affect the entire sport of boxing if DAZN says, you know what, screw this, man. We're just going to get out of the boxing market in America. It's not worth it. Think about that. And you know, I'll say this. Canelo, and once again, someone needs to sit him down, and I'm hoping that Golden Boy, and it's in the Golden Boy contract, as we were just educated by Maestro James Gogi, because he's had a lot of fighters that he's managed and trained that have signed with Golden Boy, and he's very familiar with their contracts. And he stated on this past Sunday night show that it's a standard clause in their contract that rather than in the case of a grievance or a discrepancy or a dispute, that this goes to automatic arbitration with the California State Athletic Commission rather than going to litigation. So I'm hoping that Golden Boy can sit down with Canelo sooner rather than later and talk some sense into him. Because I guarantee you, someone is whispering in the mind of, or in the ear of Canelo, and is telling him, oh, look at PBC, look at Al Heyman. Oh, Al Heyman doesn't have this problem with any of his clients, or his clients don't have this problem with Al Heyman, but you know, look at Golden Boy, man. They're doing what's best for DAZN. They're playing sides.
Yeah.
Well, Golden Boy's a promoter. Al Heyman is an advisor, and this is one of the things that we brought up, well, seemingly every single week on your show. Al Heyman, and he doesn't necessarily do what's best for the sport. He always, and this is his obligation as an advisor, right? If you're Shelley Finkel or Al Heyman, your primary obligation is to your client, and the network and the promoter a very distant second. So Golden Boy, Canelo doesn't realize, well, I'm not Al Heyman, Oscar. Oscar's, should tell him, look, man, that's what your manager's for. That's what your advisor's for. Yeah. That's their obligation to do what's. We have to do what's best for everybody, including the 80 other fighters in our stable. Here's the problem. Canelo generates 94% of their gross income every single year.
Yep.
So Canelo expects the red carpet treatment. I'm sorry, your thoughts on this?
Well, here's the thing that what makes it such a messy, squabble in my opinion. Golden Boy and Canelo hasn't had the best relationship as well either. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's been well documented. Now you throw in this twist with, Eddie Herron and DAZN. Well, you have a lot of disgruntled entities, okay? And that's why I say, I see no happy ending, but if I'm Canelo, you have to understand the landscape that we're in right now as far as boxing. And, he has this he has this expectation to where no, I signed, and this is what I'm entitled to regardless, but not really understanding, like you say, the contract or, the current state of affairs. And I just don't see Canelo budging off of that, though. I mean, I think in the perfect world, we would love for him to concede and talk, we could talk sense. But as I said, he truly believes that he's worth every penny, and he doesn't want to budge. And I'm sure his advisors are telling him that, you know what, you are the main attraction. You are the, you are the mothership. And again, that's why you're seeing a lot of things already starting to kind of play out due to this, fiasco, whether it's Oscar talking about coming back or whether, Eddie Herron ready to I mean, it's going to have major impact. And like I say, I don't see Canelo Alvarez in the boxing ring no time soon. I really don't. I just don't see it.
Yeah, look at how long Mikey Garcia was on ice because of his contract dispute with Top Rank. And once again, if you listen to Bob Arum, this says it all, right? He's been doing this for 4 decades. He's been the premier boxing promoter, aside from Don King, in the world for the past 4 decades, staging fights for Muhammad Ali, right? And what does Bob Arum say? What was he saying when he was in a dispute with HBO before they folded? Well, you know what? Top Rank is going to do what's best for Top Rank. And that says it all. So someone needs to sit down with Canelo and explain to him, while Golden Boy Promotions' primary obligation is to its fighters, it's in the organization's best interest to try and appease their benefactor, which is DAZN and their respective financial investment. Because the sport, as well as Golden Boy Promotion, depends on those TV dates to nurture their entire stable of prospects and contenders. And again, once again, you're talking about dates which not only include Canelo, but Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, Jojo Diaz, Jorge Linares, Ray Vargas, Jaime Munguia.
Man.
It's imperative that Golden Boy maintain a healthy relationship with both Canelo and DAZN. It's paramount. That's what he doesn't get. Now, here's the quandary. For Golden Boy, if you're Oscar, you're sweating bullets right now because here's the quandary.
Man.
Without Alvarez competing as a Golden Boy fighter, how hard do you think it's going to be, Rodney, to broker the best possible deals for the other talent at Golden Boy?
Oh, man.
And then without DAZN and their 36 dates per year, it's virtually impossible to nurture that talent. That's the quandary.
Absolutely.
So if you had to make a prognostication, okay, one, do you think DAZN USA is going to leave the American boxing market in 2020 and 2021?
I can definitely foresee a hiatus in them, taking a step back from the U.S. landscape. Again, they can bring their young talent such as Devin Haney, maybe Demetrius Andrade, and maybe have them fight over there. I can see them kind of shuffling their cards. And then you still have the heavyweight. They still have, oh, my God, it must have been a long day. What's the heavyweight? Anthony Joshua. They still have him in their stable where he can fight, across the pond.
Okay, so, now once again, and this speaks volumes, Rodney, think about this. They're talking about finalizing a deal between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev for Sky Sports pay-per-view. There is no mention of DAZN.
There you go.
Okay, and Golden Boy, prior to this incident, right, this lawsuit filed, they were in the process of finalizing deals with DAZN for Jaime Munguia to come back in October and for Ryan Garcia to face Luke Campbell in November, but there's been no mention of that since. DAZN is completely hijacking. They're holding this hostage, and they're saying, nope, we're not going to make any more dates until we finalize this with Canelo. Canelo, See, and this is everything. This is the entire ball of wax for DAZN. Rodney, yeah, this doesn't look good for the sport of boxing, brother.
No. And you really feel bad for the young talent that, some of the, ones who are the future of the sport, where they have to suffer and get caught up in the crosshairs of this BS, in my opinion. It's not really BS, man. It's just business, and at the end of the day, like I tell folks, sometimes you can see things on the surface and you think everything is rosy, but you never know what's going on behind the scenes, whether could be financial issues, it could just be, chemistry issues, and at some point they begin to surface, and I think we're seeing that now on all sides, though, and I don't know, man, I just hate to see the young fighters have to suffer. I would hate to see American fans that suffer, because, I paid for DAZN faithfully, and, I supported it, I liked it. It was a good way to, again, we didn't really lose anything with HBO. We was able to have that transition and go right to DAZN. So it's definitely going to have a effect as far as, viewership and just, not to have all those dates, man. That's a huge, huge blow. And like I say, the fighters will really start to feel the effects as well, too, as this thing, drags out.
Well, and so I'm going to read this. This is a comment from our very good friend Antonio Luna, and he wrote this in. He wanted to ask you this, Rodney. Antonio Luna from Long Beach, California. Thanks for tuning in, brother. He says, Rodney, does anyone in the boxing community, PBC, Top Rank, DAZN, or Golden Boy Promotions, have the cojones to prove Dana White wrong about his recent comment stating boxing is a dying sport? And in case you weren't aware, I'm going to read those comments to you, okay?
Okay.
Now, he was asked at a recent press conference for an upcoming UFC event, and a writer said, hey, what do you feel about DAZN wanting Canelo to fight Masvidal or Khabib on DAZN sometime in the near future? And Dana White said, quote, that's effing hilarious. I don't even know what to say to that. That's just hilarious. But are you shocked? That's the state of boxing. It's really where those guys are at. But to be honest with you, I don't even know what to say about that. And he went on to talk to a promoter or another reporter afterwards and had this to say. He said, it wouldn't surprise me. It's so mismanaged over there. He said every event in boxing is like a going out of business sale in which the promoters are trying to get as much money as they can from the network from each and every event. They're not thinking long term, and you can see that. End quote. Rodney, knowing the business as well as you do, can you disagree with anything that Dana White just said?
Not at all. I can't disagree. I would like to, but the truth is our most valuable possession. But see, this didn't happen overnight. It was certain events that's transpired through previously, and it's only continued to snowball, in my opinion. It's like he says, you're trying to do any and everything to, sell the sport, even if it means losing its integrity, even if it means getting retired Hall of Famers to come back and fight. And when you start doing that, man, you start to somewhat compromise your product, in my opinion. And in the meantime, you have UFC. It's just business as usual. Another successful event. And, they have the audience, they have the base, they got the groundswell of support. It's like boxing now. We have to almost manufacture that support or to get an event, and that's a huge problem. It really is. And, we need to do something quick. And like you said, a few weeks ago, if we don't make some changes, then it's a possibility that we won't have boxing or be able to view boxing as we have previously or as we know it. So it's heading that way unless something major happens, and it's several mitigating factors. I think we can start with some of these overinflated salaries. I think, too, Floyd Mayweather, set such a trend, a negative trend for the sport that it started, it permeated so much in the boxing landscape that it still has an effect today, to be honest. And as I said, it has a trickle-down effect, and it appears our sport is somewhat crumbling. And unless the powers that be can come together to stop the bleeding, man, it can be big trouble, Joseph. I really do believe that.
Well, if boxing is going to survive this pandemic, well, it's going to do so on the back of, the Hall of Fame promoter, last of the Mohicans, after Don Chargan passed away. The two last great remaining Hall of Fame promoters left, because Don King is retired, guys. The two left are Russell Peltz, semi-retired, and the Bob father, Bob Arum, who is steering the course at ESPN. Think about all the dates that he has. Think about the fact that he was the first one to come back during this pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take a collaborative effort with Bob Arum and everyone else in boxing. Eddie Herron, Golden Boy Promotions, and Al Heyman is going to have to start thinking more realistically about what's best for the sport of boxing, not just what's best for his clients' bank accounts. That means he has to approach inter-promotional matchups a lot more realistically than just sending a bullshit $10 million offer for a Keith Thurman fight with Terrence Crawford. Realistically, they're going to have to sit down and say, how can we make these matchups happen? Right? That's it. But as long as Bob Arum has a collaborative and happy and relationship with ESPN, that's the key. That's the key. Also, don't discount Heyman's relationship with Fox currently. That is huge as well. That's going to be the saving grace of boxing if there is one, because it's obvious that Canelo wants what he wants and is not looking any further past that. I'm sorry, your thoughts,
absolutely.
Rodney?
Well, also, too, just to piggyback this on the Bob Arum, when you have a fighter like Canelo, it's a gift and it's a curse. Because, again, you have a monster, but that monster has to be fed. Okay, Bob Arum doesn't really have that problem. Now, he has some good fighters, great fighters, and Bud Crawford and some nice young guns that's coming up.
Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah. But, he doesn't have to have that magnitude to say, okay, I have to be able to pay them $40 million, 38, 60, whatever it is, he doesn't have to have that type of burden on him, which, again, makes life easier for him, in my opinion. And he's landed on his feet in a good place, and he has his fighters, and they'll be able to get those dates. So, man, it was a stroke of genius for Bob Arum to use that platform. And, again, I like the product, and hopefully it continues to sustain. So, in the perfect world, but, we're asking Al Heyman, who's been in boxing all these years, and only has done boxing one way. One way, he has put people out of business. He has, again.
How's boxing on Versus, Rodney? How's boxing on Spike?
Man,
Spike TV. How's that going?
Man, a joke. They'll never have anything to do with the sport again of boxing, So, again, now I don't know the current relationship or the underbelly of what's going on with Fox, but, man, if that doesn't work out,
boxing is in serious trouble. Yep.
yeah. So it's not a unconceivable that we really could be on life support. So as I said, man, again, it's so many mitigating factors that we can look to. But at the end of the day, we are where we are now. UFC has kind of leapfrogged us as the main attraction as far as combat sports. We have to be honest right now. We really do. And we're going to have to stop the bleeding, though, Joseph. Somehow, some way, the powers that be, they're going to have to come together. And, man, this Canelo – okay, so what's the biggest fight? We have Joshua and the
big events on the fight calendar, and obviously the first pay-per-view coming at us is next weekend, and that's the Charlo Twin Bill, but that's a die-hard pay-per-view. No mainstream and casual audiences are going to participate in purchasing this event. Right. So the first genuine mainstream and casual participated event is going to be Lomachenko versus, and that's not a pay-per-view, so this is a great thing, Lomachenko versus Lopez on October 17th. But the first pay-per-view is going to be the following weekend, and that's Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz. Mm. And that's going to be on Showtime pay-per-view as well.
Yeah. But I'm looking to see more so.
The next one is going to be Spence versus Garcia, and that's going to be on November 21st, right? But, yeah, if you look at the Titans, the big names that carry the sport and get the interest and garner the interest of the mainstream and casual fans, then you have to look forward to December 19th at the new Raiders Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 3.
There you go. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Yep. That's
so yeah, I chuckle, but yeah, so once again, guys, we have to support our beloved boxing. Buy these events, because if you don't, well, the networks are going to eventually say, well, yeah, it's not profitable for me. I'd rather invest my money in college football, NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball, all of the other events that are mainstream and that are guaranteed winners, right? That's the bottom line. It's all like no one is in business to lose money.
Not at all.
And I'm sorry, but these promoters have to do a much better job of giving a product and putting forth a product that's going to be a guaranteed winner for these networks.